Zyrax snarled as he watched the latest batch of human prisoners being marched into the processing intake. His compound eyes narrowed as he took in the disheveled, frightened-looking specimens shuffling towards the Crucible's airlocked entry portals. More pieces of flesh for the grinders, the alien warden hissed in his guttural language. I wonder how long this pack will last. The Crucible was among the most infamous and dreaded prison planets in the known galaxies. A harsh, noxious world located deep in the uncharted terminus systems, its volatile atmosphere and unpredictable environs made escape nearly impossible. That was even before accounting for the ever-present gauntlet of robotic sentries, force fields, and bioweapon hazards that Zyrax employed to torment his inmates. For the sadistic warden, acquiring and processing the toughest, most dangerous lifeforms from across the cosmos was a source of endless satisfaction. Acquiring humans, those technologically advanced ape-descended warriors, was considered a particular coup for any self-respecting prison master. Watching from the heavily reinforced windows of his command atrium, Zyrax witnessed the small tribe of captured humans being stripped of their possessions, then subjected to the paralytic toxin baths. The noxious chemicals would keep them docile and disoriented as they were processed and implanted with tracer chips. Only then would the pitiful specimens be released into the Crucible's compounds to suffer the horrors he had so carefully designed and cultivated. For most inmates, from the tiniest outlaw scrappers to the warlike Rokathi juggernauts, survival in the Crucible for more than a few weeks was a pipe dream. The few who did manage to adapt and cling to life often went hopelessly insane long before their imprisonment ended. Just the way Zyrax liked it. But then his compound eyes fixed on one particular human, a female that moved with a detached calm despite her circumstances. A cool, focused professionalism radiated from her that stood out even when compared to the other captive humans. Scan and obtain record on that one, he instructed the warden AI. There's something different. A display hiccuped to life, identifying the dangerously stoic-looking prisoner as Kari Lorne. It indicated she had been a member of the dreaded human special warfare operatives, essentially one of the apex predators of that infuriatingly resilient species. A deadly, skilled fighter and survivor trained to operate autonomously behind enemy lines in extreme environments. A horrible, delicious realization washed over Zyrax. Of course, this human female would present a unique opportunity for him. What better challenge for his meticulously designed killing floor of a prison than to test it against one of humanity's most formidable warriors? To break an unbreakable human and savor their exquisite suffering. The warden licked his mandibles with sadistic glee. Yes, this Kari Lorne would become his new favorite. For however long she managed to defy the agonies of the Crucible, and when not, if her limits were finally reached, it would only make her downfall more satisfying. After all, Zyrax told himself, sooner or later every human broke. The harsh winds howled across the barren crimson wastelands, whipping up stinging clouds of corrosive dust. Any unprotected exposure risked shredding flesh from bone in atomized agony. Which was precisely why the Crucible's latest batch of human inmates had been dumped into this hellish sector of the prison planet with only rags for shelter, weakening them, demoralizing them, preparing them for the embrace of death. That was Warden Zyrax's way. All except Kari Lorne. While the other humans huddled together and prayed to whatever gods they believed in, Lorne had been analyzing the terrain, feeling the wind patterns, getting her bearings. Within a couple of hours, she had fashioned basic goggles and a breath mask from the rags, along with primitive tools to dig a sheltered pit within a sheltered overhang. The other humans stared in shock and awe as Lorne moved confidently in the lethal conditions, beckoning them over one by one to reinforce their meager shelter. She coached them, encouraged them, gave them tasks to focus their minds on something other than despair and fear. It wasn't much, but it kept them alive through that first night as the Crucible's punishing atmosphere raged. Over the days that followed, Lorne took charge. She organized them into a cohesive survival unit, establishing a regimen of training, routine, and self-defense. As the human inmates regained their strength and morale under her firm leadership, their sense of hope grew. Lorne was always planning, always vigilant, probing for weaknesses in the moving perimeter of robotic sentries and landmines surrounding their captive zone. When she identified an opportunity, she would strike with breathtaking speed and decisiveness. A group of sentries deactivated after repairs, leaving a 2-minute window? In that span, Lorne's team would charge out and ransack their supplies before fleeing back to the shelters, a distracted roving hunter-killer patrol passing too close. Her crew would ambush it, salvaging weapons and rations. From Zyrax's command atrium, the warden witnessed the upstart with growing rage and disbelief. What was this human doing? How was she able to disrupt his carefully designed hell? Each time he tried to adjust the Crucible's defenses, each time he unleashed a new torment upon the confined humans, Lorne was one step ahead. He witnessed her team inflicting casualties on his security teams, sabotaging systems, freeing other human groups to lead them back to her stronghold. Like phantoms in the night, they would appear and vanish in streaks of violence. The ghost of the Crucible Zyrax spat the name other wardens had started calling this infuriating prisoner. Somehow this single alien creature was unraveling everything he had built, undoing his entire operation. No more. He would reassign his entire facility and crush this human uprising before it spread. The legendary Unbreakable human herself would be made an example of, personally. Zyrax's upper torso flinched in anger as the blaring alarms pierced his primary auditory receptors. On the security monitors, he watched in disbelief as Kari Lorne's human resistance forces swarmed another fortified outpost in a daring nighttime raid. Ow! He had scrambled all his elite hunter-killer patrols to that sector. The area was supposed to be on complete lockdown to prevent the infernal human from escaping her containment zone. But there they were, figures clad in salvaged armor and wielding horrifically improvised weapons fashioned from crucible debris. They fought with the furious determination of starved Acrylons, cutting through his surprised garrison forces. Despite everything Zyrax had thrown at them, toxins, gas attacks, thermobaric bombers, seismic disruptor fields, the human prisoners just kept fighting back. Their conditioned refusal to surrender made them unstoppable against his usual methods for subduing unruly inmates. And it was all because of her, the ghost. Lorne's uncanny survival abilities and leadership had transformed the weakest, most pathetic human specimens into an elite cadre of warriors. No matter what he tried, no matter what agonies he subjected them to, she found a way to endure and grow stronger. Now he watched as the last of his forces at the outpost fell, butchered with brutal efficiency by the human assault teams. Their prize, a stockpile of high-potency armaments and comms equipment that would only allow the uprising to spread further. Slamming his 4 limbs against the console in rage, Zyrax knew there was only one choice left to him. Activate Animus protocols, he growled, issuing the command no warden ever wished to give. It would mean stripping away the last restraints, enabling the Crucible's darkest mechanisms. Within his sanctum, archaic runes glowed balefully as the most forbidden technologies were activated. Disruptor fields crackled to horrific levels. Canisters of the most insidious biochemical agents were prepped for dispersal. Zyrax's most elite render teams, soldiers from the cruelest Voke-Ren hunter races, checked their equipment and psyched themselves up for the fight of their lives. His primordial battlesuit thrummed with power as it encased the warden's hulking form. On the monitor displays, he could see the ghost and her ragged human army cheering, celebrating their latest victory against his forces. Let them savor it. Soon his Animus protocols would ultimately crush the human spirit, along with those of her followers. They would all be reduced to whimpering, desiccated husks, begging for the blessing of oblivion before he was through. Such was the fate of any who dared defy the infinite agonies of the Crucible. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you liked it. If you did, please be sure to leave it a like and subscribe too if you don't want to miss our next one. Feel free to check out any of our other videos too.